everyone.
Hari Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we are on verse 6 of chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. And we did 5, where he talked about his lower prakriti. In verse 4, he talked about his lower prakriti, and then he said, this is my lower prakriti, the Ashtada prakriti, but different from that, O Arjuna, is my higher prakriti, the very life element by which this world is upheld, and we can call it para prakriti or the consciousness. And so he's elaborating further. So he talked about the two prakritis. We should remember that para and apara, Purush and Prakriti. And then I was telling you there are so many different names in Bhagavad Gita, Kshetra, Kshetrajna, and then a few other things. All of them, Drishta and Drishya, all of them refer to the same, those two. So keep that in mind. And now let's see what it is in verse 6. I'm going to chant. Etadhyonini bhutani sarvani tyupadharaya aham krusnasya jagatah prabhavat pralayasthatha. Etadhyonini. So yoni, this means womb. These two prakritis, it's referring to them. Because here he said those are the womb. What are the womb? The two prakritis. Bhutani, beings. So he's talking about here beings, but reality speaking, when we open up the whole verse, you will see everything. Okay? So, but when they say bhuta is the things made of Panch Mahabhuta, us. Sarvani, all. Iti is thus. Upadharaya, know that. Aham, I. So here when Krishna Bhagavan say I, he's talking about that consciousness. Kritsnasya, of the whole. Jagataha, of the world. And then we saw the definition of Jagata is not just the physical world, it's the emotional world, intellectual world, all the different things that exist, all the different worlds. Prabhava means Uthna, source. And Pralaya, everybody knows here in Hindi speaking what is Pralaya, dissolution, and everything goes away. Tatha is also. So what is he talking about over here? So firstly, we all know very well now about the two prakritis. We have gone in some detail about it, para and apara prakriti. So together these are the source yoni or womb of the cause of all beings, he said. And actually, really speaking, everything else that is there is the whole cosmos. So whatever you see, whatever you can comprehend, whatever you can feel, whatever ideas you have, everything is a combination of this para and apara prakriti. And then, some Puranas have, we have 7 lokas below, 7 above, and they have all kind of names, Swarg, Patal, Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Patani, Rasatal, and all these things, including all the multiverses, because now there are people believe there are multiverses. Our Vedas already say that it is there. They are everything is these two prakriti, matter and consciousness. So, and then, Nikhilanandji was mentioning that how in the modern world, we try to study the science. So that when they talk about now, the other science is also coming in and they have consciousness studies and all. But until lately, they were just, in the Western world, they were just studying the science of matter, focusing so much on the matter. But he was just reminding that we learned from the Vedas that the matter is controlled by that life factor, okay? Or the seer, you can say, because there are two aspects, seer and seen. So he's saying seer is more important. So then he was mentioning that how now that there is a studies going on about in quantum physics and all that, advanced quantum physics, that they have realized that what you see is controlled by the seer. Seer is a more primary and more important. And he's saying that they did some experiment, and then the experiment also they found out that the seer can literally modify what is seen. And I mean, just very ordinary example that we in the world see what we want to see. You show something to a situation or an object to 10 different people, they will take a 10 different take on it, So seer is very important. So either you can say subject and object. The subject is objects are many, subject is one, and subject plays a very important role. So he was just reminding us again of the dream example, that an individual at a personal level also has this, and in the dream example. So what happens in the dream, one aspect of dream is that before we go to sleep, we have some thoughts and feelings in our head, right? And then with that, those thoughts and feeling, when we go to sleep, we give it like a form in the dream of those. So that's why कभी-कभी we have seen कि हम कोई चीज़ बहुत सोच रहे होते हैं, उसी के बारे में dream आता है, कुछ modified ढंग से आता है, but whatever is on our mind, that's what reflects, So he's saying that in order to create that dream, I use what is the material used over there? The matter and the life force. Because mind creates the dream. We learned that mind is a subtle matter, but it has to be energized with that life force. So that's the reality, that that the two combination creates the dream. Now take the same example in the cosmos. Okay, that the same way the entire cosmos that we experience, and that means what is in there? All the different beings. So right from a bacteria to a human being, and even including all the devatas, and you can maybe other beings in other lokas, you can call, that, hey, some science is saying that if Earth has human beings, maybe life on other planets, you can say that too. Everything together is coming from the same source, the matter and the life force. So, in other words, same para and para prakriti. Okay, and then what is apara and para prakriti is nothing but nature of God. Remember, he said my higher nature and my lower. So both are his only. That's another very important to see, because sometimes when we separate matter and spirit, we think matter is something totally separate, but that's not true. It is part of God only. That's another very important thing to remember. For our understanding, they divide it, and the same thing what Joe was talking about, Ardha and Nareshwar, we see two, but in essence they are one only. The Shiv Parvati or Radha Krishna or Lakshmi Narayan, whatever you want to call the two Shaktis. So what is the conclusion here? That the entire cosmos that we are experiencing is nothing but God only, because it's a God's nature. Both the prakritis are God's nature, so you can catch it this way or that way, And then he was just saying that all of us are whatever activities we are doing, sleeping, eating, walking, everything is happening within God only. So that's how we are. And there was a very famous drishtant, and I like that a lot. So he's saying that sometimes in life we feel, hey, that I'm falling or something bad is happening, and it could be spiritual fall, or it could be physical things, bad things that are happening to us. So this person's drishtant was, I'm sitting on the God's shoulder, and when I fall, I actually fall in his lap only. So I'm not going anywhere. Bad things are happening within him. I thought that was such a nice thing. So we have to remember that. Even that is, he catches the fall, in other words, because he knows that he's just trying to test us or make us a better people, or, things like that. So coming back to ourselves, that our mind and body are made of this para and para prakriti. We saw that when we were discussing the Ashtada prakriti and all that. And then the life that is pulsating in us, that's because of which we are conscious of this world. That is Bhagwan's para prakriti. So just coming to our individual level is the same thing. And then, Nikhilananji brought an important point, because right now we are calling it Prakriti and Purush, and we are saying that Purush is the highest thing. But as we progress deeper into Bhagavad Gita and probably Upanishads, fact, whatever the way they describe, they actually say that at a very pure level, God is beyond these two prakritis. So these are when you say consciousness or para and apara, consciousness and matter, or spirit and matter, God is even beyond that. So they have done one more step deeper. So again the same concept is going to come, but here he was mentioning that, so we just try to remember that. And at that level, which is beyond this apara and para prakriti, that's where he's nameless, formless, beyond all comprehension. Because when they say that beyond all comprehension, that's what it means. And then from that state, when he manifests into two prakritis, para and apara. So the one more step we have to learn now. So he, just to give a worldly example, that how everything is within God and then it manifests. He said it's like a wood. We pick up a piece of wood, there is a lot of fire in it. थोड़ी सी चिनकारी लगाएंगे वो एकदम चलना शुरू हो जाएगी. But at that point, the fire is incomprehensible to us. We can't see the fire. There's no light and fire in it. And so that's why we can hold the wood and all. But once it expresses that fire, that becomes something totally different, in a sense that heat and light comes in. And same way that when God reveals himself, he reveals that as para and apara prakriti. So that's what was a very good example. And once he expresses himself, that's called the Saguna Brahma. When we talk about Nirguna Brahma and Saguna Brahma, because this now has some qualities, the Saguna Brahma. So same Brahma expresses as para and para, and then Nirguna and Saguna. So that's where this comes. And another thing he was reminding, these are points of contemplation. It's kind of expanding on what we are learning, because if we just learn para and para prakriti and just go home, hey, how does it affect me? Why are they talking about it? So we have to contemplate upon that. So he was just saying that everything that you see on this earth or in the cosmos, even blade of grass to a tiny atom, it's not different from that God, because it is his prakriti only, and it belongs to God only. So from that perspective, everything is divine. So that is called Bhagwan Samagra Roop, entire roop together. That's why everything is divine. That's how these saints and sages looks at the world. They don't see anything like bad over here, because anything bad is happening because for some reason it is happening to make it better, kind of thing. That's how they look at it. So, and then another thing he was mentioning, Nikhilananji, that there is a lot more detail to this apara prakriti, and exactly what Joe was talking about, Purush Suktam, that how the whole universe is form of God's body as though. So there are a lot more other division, and we know one of them is Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh and all. But here in this verse, to simplify it, they are just calling it para and apara prakriti. But later on, there will be further divisions and things like that. So in this verse, basically the para and apara prakriti together is called Ishwar also, because it is already manifested to a certain point. That's why it's Ishwar. And then when it comes to us, like microcosm and macrocosm, Ishwar is like nothing, our form. Jiva is nothing but a miniature Ishwar only, he was just talking about, But, we'll say, hey, how can I be Ishwar? In our essence, we are, but when we do wrong things and we don't know how to behave and all that, then we are kind of getting away from that Ishwar's nature. But all those goodness, everything is within us only. just like God has it. So that's another point, you know. And then so he was just saying that how when we go against our real nature, then the problem happens in our life, when we go against our real nature. So he actually gave a very brilliant example. He's saying that our own body is made up of God knows how many billions of cells and all that. So every cell is actually part of this body, and it has to work together for the benefit of the body, correct? In our own body. So he's saying that suppose, this is hypothetical, but actually it happens in our body. You will see the example. So there's some cells decide, hey, I don't want to do this for the whole body. मैं तो अपना कुछ अलग ही करूँगी. मतलब just this thing, you know. It's like, I'll do whatever I want, you know, because क्या फर्क पड़ता है kind of thing, you know. You will see that when the cells start behaving abnormal, so to speak, then we have to get rid of those cells, right? So he's saying the same way in the universe. Now think of this universe as the entire cosmos is the body of God. That's what that Purush Suktam is all about. The physical body or material body is called apara prakriti, and the conscious body is, or the life is para prakriti. So if and the one God is moving about in the whole world playing, you can call it. And I think one example our Gurudev had given, that if you see the ocean, the waves are playing with each other. One is falling on the other and all that, and all the halchal is happening. But in essence, it's just H2O. So just playing with itself, actually. So that's where he was saying that the whole universe is God only playing, moving and all that. And that's how you have to look at it. There's only one God. And then in the verse, he says, what's the verse? Yeah, the etad yonini bhutani. So there are two, these two prakritis are the womb of the source of the entire cosmos. So just to understand, he's saying that even if you may not understand it completely, but he's telling Arjuna at this stage, you just accept this, even if you don't comprehend it fully, because now as we go to the other chapter, it's going to come out a lot more. And then God, another important thing, we have said it before, but just to contemplate, repeating it, that they belong to God, so they are his nature only. And nature is something you cannot separate from yourself. When you say, hey, this is my nature, you can't separate it. It is part of you, you know. Or somebody say, my nature is, I like to sing. You can't separate that singing from that person, or artist, something like that. Just think about it that way. Same way, para and para prakriti, it cannot exist without God. It's part of him. So that's another way to look at it. Part of Brahman only. And but other way around is possible. The Brahman can exist without them when it, how do we say it, swallow it up, though the Prakriti then, because it's something like dance and dancer. The dancer is not dancing all the time. Sometimes the dance is coming out and then it merges back into him, and then person is quiet. So he can live without the dance, but the dance cannot be without the dancer. See what I'm saying? That's what the main point over here is, that the world cannot be without God. God can be without world. So, and then we discussed that when it is, so here now connecting the Nirgun and Sagun Brahma, that when the Brahma exists without expressing the para and apara prakriti, that's when it's called the Nirgun Brahma. And, or Nirakar. And so reverse is true too. So when that Brahman expresses the two Prakriti, it becomes Sagun, So we have to connect this over here. So just coming back to the same thought, that really speaking, they are not two, it's Brahma alone. And that same Ardhanarishwar, same thing you can apply over there. So whether Brahma is with form or without form is Brahma alone. That's why sometimes people argue, is Brahma Nirakar or Sakar? It does not matter. Both are him only. So that's what it is, Some people have their big arguments about that. And then the other parts of it in this, he's saying, Aham Kritsnam Jagat Prabhava Pralayas Tatata. What does it mean? I am the very source of its rising of this universe, manifesting on the entire cosmos. Through my Prakriti I rise. So what Upanishads are telling, so there is a whole story in one of the Upanishads that the teacher tells the disciple that if you really want to know what is Brahma, then try to investigate from where the world is coming, from where it is sustained, what is sustaining it, and where does it merge back. And you will get the answer what the Brahma is. And he's saying that entity is Brahma, where all these three are happening. So, and then coming back to the microcosm, Nikhilananji was explaining that in us also, if you come back to us as jivas, we find that same kind of things are happening in us. How? Where are our thoughts and emotions coming from? Where is the life force arising in us? So all source of everything is also Brahman in us. And when we call it Atma, there was a question in the class that what is Atma? When it's expressing within us, that same source is called Atma. So actually Atma and Brahman are the two terms, they are same. It's at the essence level, they are exactly the same. So when Lord Krishna says, I'm the very source of this creation and the dissolution and everything comes back into me only. That's what he's saying in that line over here. So he was saying that Nikhilananji said that Shankaracharya gave a very beautiful example that of water and bubbles. He's saying that just like the water is there, some bubbles come out from there, and they after a while they again go back, merge back into it. So he's saying this whole cosmos is like that bubbles. Okay, there is the substratum and consciousness. God is there. It manifests. It is there, sustained. So when we have the example of bubble, the bubble is sustained in water only. Without water, bubble cannot be. So it comes from the water, sustained in water, and dissolves in water. The same way, this whole cosmos, emerges from that Brahman, sustains in the Brahman, and dissolves in the Brahman. And then he was just saying that how our scripture already talk about multiverses, and Anant Koti Brahmand, they call it. You must have heard of this word, Anant Koti Brahmand. And he's saying now science is also trying to prove that this universe is not the only one, there are multiverses out there, So he's saying that why we are studying all this, because now apply this to like our karma yoga, whatever we did, okay? That after understanding this, what is God to this extent right now in chapter 7, our path of karma yoga becomes a little more clearer, because when they say that dedicate your action to God, right? That's what they say. Saying that they are not just talking about some little God sitting in some little corner somewhere. Because, some people start fighting over my God is better than yours, or Shiva is better than Vishnu, or God knows, between religions and all that. Hey, they're talking about the whole multiverse person who supports it, okay? So that understanding we have to have. And then he's saying that just don't think that this God belongs to only human beings. Because some people make some crazy statement also, the Gnostic type of people. They will say, oh, God is nothing but a creation of God, people's mind. Kuch kaam dhaam karne ke liye hai nahi, to God hi bana liya, Some people might say something like that. So he's saying that God, here the God they're talking about is not only belong to human being, the entire cosmos. So he was just reminding, even scientifically speaking, human beings are the recent phenomena in the cosmic time, okay? We say, okay, it came 2 million years ago. It sounds very, very long to us, but cosmic time is nothing. It's very recent, you have to call. So that we should not have the arrogance that, just Bhagwan belongs to God and nobody else. No. Before, it belongs to everybody. Okay? That's what. And then the other thing is to remember that Shastras say, but you have to contemplate upon it. Even when we are gone, God is still there. He was there before, is there now, and is going to be there afterwards. Okay, that's the kind of comprehension we have to do. And then, so what is our Sanatan Dharma has done to make it easy to comprehend God? They gave it a beautiful form so that we can, and I think Dr. Prabhakar is here, he had asked that question about Saguna and Nirgun Brahma. Hey, it's easier, truth. So that's why they did that. So then he's saying that we have given some picture to make it easier for us. So he's saying that, and the example he gave was so good, and everybody will relate to this example. He's saying that if you want to teach a little child A, B, C, D, so सब इतना बड़ा apple वहाँ पर रख देते हैं, A for apple, you know. And so he's saying that then only the child gets it. If you just show him the A, he may not get it. But इतना बड़ा apple लगा दिया वहाँ पे, वो apple को देख के उसे A, फिर वो apple को देख के हमेशा A ही बोलेगा वो, right? Same concept that, form de diya usko so that we can understand. So he's saying that now think about it. How the pictures that we see of God, or the murtis that we see of God, you saw that how Krishna Bhagwan or Ram Bhagwan or any kind of Shiva, what color do they show them? They show them blue. You know why? Because they're trying to depict infinity. How do you tell the artist, hey, make a picture of God, and say, okay, give me characteristic of God. God is infinite. So the artist thinks, hey, look outside. What is infinite? I look at the sky, it is infinite. What color is it? Blue. I look at the ocean, here, Pacific Ocean, I'm looking at it. It's infinite, from my perspective. If you compare sky and ocean, then obviously sky is more. But, just a general concept. That's also blue. So वो blue रंग लगा दिया उसमें. We cannot say that God is only blue. No. Because it's just depicting infinity. So the artist painted it that way. And then you say, okay, other characteristic, that God is expressing all these different elements. So then we'll see that is beautiful description of Shiva, that how it is. But he's saying, okay, some other things. God is very compassionate. So then they will make this beautiful face with some expression of compassion and large eyes and mesmerizing and all that. And then, God is intelligent, friend of all. So you want that kind of expression in that. God is looking at me. Like I have a Krishna Murti and I always feel like he's looking at me because the artist had done such a great job. So he was just saying that's how we give it a form. It's because when we identify with a human face and the smile on him and all that, it makes us feel good. We can connect to him, And then they say, okay, compassion or depicting earth. So they say, okay, yellow. You have your yellow dhoti of Lord Krishna and all that. And anytime they will show, because they are trying to show all different things within the God only. Okay. And now he was just talking about Shiv Bhagwan. And it's amazing that, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but all the symbolism is amazing. And, when you learn it and say, wow, they were so smart how they did it. Because Shiva is one of the most ancient depiction of that form. So what they have done is that to show the 5 elements on Shiva, how did they do it? First, unke haath mein unhone damru rakha. Damru is a sound, right? Like our grandson calls it dugu dugu. We have a small one and he tries to play. He's called it dugu dugu. Damru. So that sound is expressing Akash. Is pointing towards the Akash. And the snake is expressing the Vayu because he's hissing. When the snake hisses, the Vayu comes out. So that depicts the Vayu because Panch Mahabhutana. Agni is in his eyes. We know third eye. So Agni is covered. Ganga is there, Jala. And then for Prithvi, it's Bhasma. He puts Bhasma all over his body. That's the Prithvi. So those are the 5 elements of Shiva. And then these are different from Shiva, but they're all around him. Para and apara prakriti ho gayi ki nahi? Yeah. There was such a beautiful way, So, and when he talks about Nataraj, everybody has, from India we know, a lot of us have the Nataraj Murti at our home. So when you look at it, you will see the symbolism. This particular is depicting the manifestation, sustenance, and dissolution of this sansar. That's what that Nataraj depicts, And then what is in that Nataraj? he's standing on this little being. There's like a little, it looks like a baby. It's not a baby, because some people get, in the West, when they don't understand the symbolism, they get horrified that what is this standing on a baby? No. It's just a small being which is representation of ignorance. That's what. There is a Apamar, aisa kuch naam hai uska. In the Shiv Puran, it's there. That's what he's standing on, and he's standing on ignorance, but unhone ignorance ko khatam kar diya. That's what it is. It's completely shining in the light of knowledge. That's what we need to do. So, and he's saying that unke bhi haath mein ek damru pakdaya hua hai, which indicates creation. Because remember, we studied in this Kathopanishad that in that Brahman vibration happens, and that's how the whole creation starts, the Prakriti starts and all that. So that's why the Damru is or the Om sound at the beginning of everything, whatever you want to call it. That's how the creation starts. That's what Damru depicts. And the other hand, so one hand mein Dabru hai, aur dusre hand mein wo Abhay Mudra hai, means like that. One hand is, Ashirvad aise de rahe hain. That is like showing sustenance. I'll take care of you. Because, that's the symbolism about it. And then one foot is, we saw that it is on the ignorance. In the other foot is lifted up. Right? So other foot is lifted up, and one hand is pointing towards that lifted hand. If you see the mudra. So, because there are 4 hands. And, sorry, I missed one thing. So the Damru is there, and the other hand, fire is there in his hand. And the fire represents dissolution. So Damru is creation, Abhay Mudra is sustenance, and the fire is dissolution. And then the 4th hand is pointing towards that leg, as though telling us, surrender to me. Right? Surrender to me at my feet, and then I'll take care of you. So that's what the whole depiction of it is, So it's Lord Shiva's, this Murti is expressing power of creation, sustenance, and dissolution. And then also it's telling you that whatever ignorance and confusion that we have, God has a power to release us from that. God's, anugrah. If we try, He will release us from that. His grace, you can call it. That's what is revealed in the scriptures. And then, so in many forms and stories, and this para prakriti is only kind of depicted. Even Shiva Lingam. We all do Shiva Ling pujas, and in India there are hundreds of thousands of mandirs, and more than Shiva's picture, they always put Shiva Lingam, because that is, we heard that this is a womb of the creation. So it's showing the 2 parts of Shiva Lingam, the yoni and the lingam, para and apara prakriti, and the whole everything is created from it. That's what it symbolizes. So in short, Bhagwan says to Arjun that these 2 prakriti are very source of my creation, and they belong to me, and I am the source of this world, sustenance, dissolution. Source, sustenance, and dissolution of this world. And this is my nature. So this is the whole thing in this one with lot of details. And then the next verse is going to tell some, Nikhilananji is very funny. He said that people might start thinking, okay, does that God have any brother, sister, anybody, father, mother, or some neighbor? He said, no, Bhagwan says, main hi hu sab kuch. That is going to be the next verse, okay? Just to push that same point a little deeper into Arjun and us. So that's what it is. So any question, comment, or anybody wants to add anything?
Snakes on Lord Shiva, what do they represent?
Oh, in this particular symbolism, the way he was explaining the Vayu, the air, because you have, sky, air as the 5 elements, right? So when the snake hisses, it throws out the air. So that's why. The air.
Okay. In some places it says that it represents birth.
Yeah, there are many different true, and all of them are true. It doesn't mean that it's only one thing. Same thing can represent many different things. But in this particular chain of thought, the 5 elements are like that. Because the Bhasma also, it says it represents earth over here, right? But actually, there's one more symbolism, very deep one of bhasma, that when everything becomes ashes, and mein bhasma reh jati hai. So that's how in our body, we are so attached to our body. In the end, it's going to be cremated and bhasma reh jayegi wo. So
what is this translation of bhasma in English? What would you say?
what is that? Anybody? Ashes, ash.
Bhasma is ashes?
Yeah, ashes. Like you have seen that those people in India, all the people who worship Shiva, and you will be surprised, they take the bhasma from the cremation ground. In fact, there is a Mahakaleshwar mandir in India, and my husband and I went there, and we missed that arti, bhasma arti. They do it at 4:30 a.m. in the morning. Bhasma arti, they actually bring the ashes from the cremation ground and a whole lot of ashes, and they pour it on the Shivalingam. Because they call it bhasma arti. Because Mahakal means the final call where all of us have to go. There is no question about it. So it's very interesting. If you don't study it properly, it can be scary to some people, But once you know, it's a reality, Any other comment or question before we read? Okay, any volunteers to read? What happened to Meera ji? Do I see? Oh, there she is. Would you like to read?
Always my pleasure.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Certainly, thank you. Know that these two Prakritis are the womb of all beings. So, I am the source and dissolution of the whole universe. The above mentioned higher and lower nature, each functioning in the embrace of the other, cause the manifestations of the world of plurality. If matter were not there, the latent dynamism of spirit will not find a field for its expression. Matter by itself, in its inertness, will not be able to express the similitude of consciousness unless the spirit was there to dynamize it. Electricity, expressing itself through the filament of the bulb, manifests as light. Without the bulb, the light in the electricity cannot manifest itself. Nor can the bulb shine forth in light without the electrical current flowing through it. The bulb is the equipment functioning through which electricity expresses itself as light. Similarly, the spirit, when it comes to function through the 5 layers of matter, discovers for itself a field to express its own potentialities.
So,
Keeping this...
Sorry, there's one paragraph got finished, right?
Yeah.
So I was just going to say that, Swamiji is bringing up very interesting point also, that the combination of the two, para and apara prakriti, and the same thing he's saying, but he's giving a great example to that's what this Ardhanarishwar is all about, and they say that without Shakti, Purush cannot do anything. So he's saying that without bulb, electricity may be there, it cannot express itself unless we see all these different equipments we have. Electricity by itself has no value, but when it passes through the matter or the equipment, that's when expression happens. So that's the point he's trying to make. Yeah, go ahead.
Keeping this idea in mind, Lord Krishna declares here that these two are the womb of all beings. It is not very difficult for an intelligent student to understand what it actually means. Not only that the pluralistic world of objects, feelings, and ideas rise from and stay in the spirit, but it dissolves into it to again become the higher nature. Thus, the lower nature is essential constitution nothing other than the higher in its essential implications. The higher, forgetting its own divinity, identifies itself with the lower and comes to the egocentric sorrows and imperfections. The higher seemingly suffers at present in its own delusions, the sorrows of the lower. Its own rediscovery of its natural divine glory is the redemption of matter. The idea that the lower has risen from the higher is likened to the way in which pots of different shapes and colors have all arisen from the mud. Just as the mud is the truth in all the pots, the higher is the essential reality in all the objects of sense organs, mind, and intellect, which the lower procreate.
So he's bringing a very important point that we actually, our pure nature is higher only, but the lower lower mein bahut gadbad hai, right? Because lower changes and then we get dukhi and this and that. He's just saying that that's what it is. So he's just bringing us to a Vedant, very important point that, and then the mud example is there that all the pots are there. There could be as many shapes and one pot might get jealous of the other, but actually they are all mud only. You can eventually change the form also. We don't know in our next life what it might be reversed. Whoever we are jealous of, it can be reversed. So anyway, that's what he brought out. So all the different Swamis bring out different points, and in the together that we can learn on.
We do have to have the lower also.
See, without lower, there'll be no body, no, nothing. All our mind is made up of lower prakriti.
Yeah. So we have to have that.
Yeah, that is the one that makes this whole world, So it's like, what example we can give? That at a very elemental level, it's like God's power is within him and now it's quiet. So that becomes a Nirakar Brahma. The potentiality is there in him. And then when he decides to do some action, that's when the world manifests. And then it's like when somebody wants to dance. Okay, you are a dancer, you are a poet, you are an artist. You're not doing that 24/7, right? You're sitting quietly and they say, oh, suddenly the thought comes, I should do this. Then it comes, expresses, and then it's finished. That potentiality goes back in you.
Like a log of wood.
Yeah. Wood also is a good thing.
That we cannot see. So same thing, we have the higher in us, but we cannot see it.
Correct. There you go. Now you got it. But that is the primary. That is the highest. Because the higher can sustain without the lower. Lower cannot sustain without the higher. That's the difference.
Okay.
Any other question, comment?
Yeah, I have a question here. Where it says the higher, forgetting its own divinity, identifies itself with the lower. It comes to the egocentric sorrows and imperfections. So the higher should be in control. Why?
So, okay, they're talking about us, Jiva. What they are trying to point the reverse thing. Jiva is nothing but God only. But we actually, the reason we have become this pathetic Jiva is because we forgot about higher nature and we are just thinking that we are in this lower and all the problems. And that's why. That's all he's saying. The moment what is liberation and moksha? Is getting established. Firstly, knowing that, hey, I am not this, I am that consciousness, and getting established in it. So I know what you are thinking. You're thinking, why did it even happen? Why did the higher? I think it's nobody knows why. You can say that sometimes we get bored of our own self and we want to do something, start playing and all that, and maybe we get lost in the play. It's like watching a movie, We identify with the movie so much that we identify with the character, we start crying and feeling emotional. Why are you feeling emotional? That person, nothing to do. It's not some relative or anybody. So why does that happen? Hey, temporarily I forgot. That's why. So it's just a temporary thing. That's why they say just the world is just a play. The people who have the NDE, when they drop this body and go in the other realm, all of them say that looks more real to them. and this world and the body look so unappealing to come to. But when we are here, we think this is the reality.
And that's why we have to meditate.
Yeah.
To eliminate that.
Yes. That the whole journey of meditation is, what did Krishna Bhagwan say? We studied the meditation in so much detail. He left no stone unturned. But what was the conclusion? Hey, you meditate on the self.
Yeah.
And then this helps us to know what self is. For example, how Nikhilananji brought that point. When we say, hey, surrender to God, surrender all your actions to God, or dedicate all your action to God. But what God are they talking about? Are they talking about just some murti I have in my house? No, he's talking about this God who is like Parayana, jiske saare pura Brahmand aaya hua hai. And look at the power of that God, So it makes us think that what God really is. Or suppose if I don't dislike somebody. This verse tells me that he's also God. So why do I have to dislike? Or like I actually heard from American perspective, this two husband wife, they became vegetarians. Okay, and because they were following I think Mukundananji, they were Mukundananji's white people, and she was just saying from her perspective, she said that because if you eat meat as a cultural thing in your family, that you don't think about anything. So he said, I always thought this meat is different from the animals. Because they had dogs and cats, and they would love them so much, they couldn't even imagine in wildest dream to hurt them. And he's saying that when I realized that it's the same type of jiva that I am eating, I was horrified, she said. So that's what the contemplation is all about, because our divisions are so big, we don't understand it. And these kind of verses and all make us realize. What, like people fighting, my God is better than yours. Hello, it's apara para prakriti together, or some religion saying my God and your God. They are just kidding themselves. There is something different. And this Hindu Muslim, how much they fight, if they study Geeta together, or maybe in their own religion they study something that and don't misunderstand what their Messiah is saying, maybe they will also feel that everybody is one. It's just our own confusions and all that we have all this suffering and all that.
And part of this is to learn to control your indriyas,
Yeah, that's how you start, because indriyas we learned in Kathopanishad that they are bahirmukhi. They always go out, and now you are trying to catch them and bring them back. It's like a little baby, when our grandson is 2 years old. Now he wants to run here, run there, touch this, touch that. You're trying all the tricks. So we have to do our tricks to our mind, Hey, don't go out there the whole time. We have to engage with the world. But if we don't turn around and contemplate on all these things, then we make a mess in the world when we go out. Yeah.
I read somewhere that in ancient times, all these people were hunters. Even the gods and goddesses, they had meat.
See, that's possible. And, like in our Shastras, in our scriptures, they don't tell you should
not
eat.
To eat.
No, they don't tell you whether you should eat or you should not eat. Okay? They tell you different things. If you're a hunter and you have no other thing, then go and eat meat. Who's stopping you? But now you have all the choices.
Oh, we have to, but they didn't do it, so they shouldn't expect from us.
Nobody's expecting anything. They are just saying, when we come to sattvic, tamasic, and rajasic food, then you will learn. Hey, there are certain kind of food you eat, you're going to feel lethargic, you are going to feel this. And if you want to meditate and you eat a big heavy pizza, and you're not going to, you'll go to sleep. Or in Punjab they eat parathas and then you have to take a nap. Paratha kha liya, lassi pi li.
What overeating does. Any type of food, if you overeat, it makes you lethargic.
No, that's true.
Meat
But
doesn't do that. If you take very small quantity, it doesn't do that.
see, I'm not here to justify whether you eat or not. That I'm not making that judgment. I was just telling the experience of those people, number one. And number two, as I said, even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna Bhagwan did not tell Arjun, hey, don't eat meat because it's bad. He just said there are 3 different kind of foods. And this comes in this category, this comes in this category, this comes in this category, right? And now, depending on what you are doing in your life, you decide what you want to eat. If there are some people, okay, I eat meat and it doesn't bother me at all, then go eat. There are other people who say, no, when I eat meat, doesn't make me feel good. Then don't eat. You know what I'm saying? So we are not, nobody's judging anybody, but we should learn to swallow the facts. Once we know the facts, then you can make a judgment. And like some people will say that and the reason that they will tell you that why the meat comes in the tamasic food, because it is a dead flesh. It's not, like if you take a dead animal and you take a vegetable and keep them side by side, vegetable can last for a long time. The pranas stay in the vegetable for a long time. Meat will rot in one day outside. So there are a lot of science behind it. And once we go deep into it, then you will be making a decision. Because even in India, the Kshatriyas and the Shudras ate meat. The Brahmins and the Vaishyas did not, because of what they were doing in their life. Because if you have to go and kill in the war, if you can't even kill an animal, how are you going to kill somebody? So sanction is given. Fine, you can go hunting. But then don't do hunt for just a sport. Because, koi bhi chidiya dikhi, usi ko maar diya. If you are doing it for a purpose, then it's fine. Or the lion, that uska swabhav hai to eat the meat. Usko koi paap nahi lagega wo khayega to. Because that is his swabhav. Or some snake, when you disturb a snake, he's going to hiss and bite you, and he has a poison and you will die. He's not going to do any wrong karma, because that is his swabhava. But humans have been given discrimination. So now you decide yourself.
In the animal world, they eat each other, bigger animals.
Yes, but that's why we are separated from them, because we have been given, animals don't have the same kind of viveka buddhi, they call it. Hey, this is animals don't worry about God or not know God. They have not, they don't have the capacity to say that, hey, is there something higher? Where did I come from? They don't have that capacity. We do. And if we want to connect to the higher, then we have to take a certain path, So anyway, it's just your own contemplation about these things.
I suppose that is why they say that you go through all those births, animal births also, before you evolve into a human being. Because that is when you have that vivek.
It's a slow process, correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
Animal has to become a vegetarian to take human birth?
No, nothing like that. Animals is nothing but a programmed life. That's how Chinmayananji used to explain that they don't do anything against nature, because that is a programmed life. But us, we can actually harm a lot, because we don't have a programmed life. God gave us freedom. Hey, you decide how you want to do it. So either I can go left or right, or I can do this or that. One action can harm a lot of people. Another one will do a lot of good to the people. So that's the difference between animal and we can someday, as we go through Bhagavad Gita, you will see what is the difference between animal and human.
I'll give a comment which everybody may not like. But on my 76th birthday, I was eating in a French restaurant, Chateaubriand, which is meat. And 3 gods came, Shiv, Krishna and Ganesh. and they blessed me and they extended my life. Now, you may believe it or not, but God has nothing to do with you being vegetarian or non-vegetarian.
No, I know. So that's why I'm saying that I see what you're saying. Okay, think about this. There are two different people. Okay, one person through culturally he ate meat. It's not his fault, right? If you give a baby a meat from very day one, it's not baby's fault. So when they grow up, they eat meat. And he's a very compassionate, nice person. And another person, oh, I'm vegetarian, I do all this puja, and is a completely nasty person. Trying to hurt other people. So who is better? So nobody's judging over here, okay?
Did Ram eat meat because he wanted to kill the deer?
He wanted to not, well, one of the stories he didn't want to kill the deer, she wanted the deer for herself as a pet. So they were, anyway, it's possible Ram Bhagwan ate meat. I don't know. I wasn't there. Neither were you. And that's not the point over here. The point over here is people who eat meat, suddenly they start feeling very guilty and they have to justify. No. If you think meat eating is right and is still making you a good person, go ahead and eat. Another person may feel, no, I don't want to do this. This is okay for them. So that spirituality is a personal choice. But you can't put a blinders on your eyes when Krishna Bhagwan is saying that, hey, the meat comes under tamasic food. Krishna is saying, not me. Okay? Then you have to accept that. You want to eat tamasic food? Go ahead.
Like you said that Kshatriyas and Shudras, they ate meat because they were doing physical labor. They were fighting and the Shudras were doing physical labor. So in meat, you can get huge amount of calories, whereas in vegetarian food, you have to eat a lot to get that same amount of calories. So that's why.
No, but the Shudras, when they talk about Shudras, they talk about their mindset is different. They are not high contemplating different things. Their Vivek Buddhi is low. That's why they're called Shudra, not because they're just doing the labor. The reason they are doing labor and they are not CEO of the company, because that's what they are capable of doing, right? And Kshatriyas they have all the good qualities, but unfortunately they have to fight also. In the war, they have to kill also.
Why do you say Shudras are not intellectually okay? I mean, why do you say that?
I'm not saying it. It is like see, there's a whole different topic because there is a very sensitive thing. This thing came in other thing also, and they said, why do you say Shudra cannot be some Pandit? Okay. Right. So who's saying that if the Shudra changes his texture of his mind, he can be a CEO, he can be anything he wants.
Right.
What you are objecting is that if you are born in certain family, we call them Shudra. Krishna Bhagwan didn't say that.
Right.
Krishna Bhagwan said whether you are Shudra or whether you are Kshatriya or the Brahmin, it is by your action, your mind and action. Okay. Right. Guna karma vibhagayoho. If you go back to that verse. So it's like what your mind is made up of, that's how you will act. And that's how we
at that particular time, right? I mean the mind.
No, there's सबका एक स्वभाव होता है जो predominant स्वभाव होता है किसी का. Okay? So या तो आपका शूद्र स्वभाव हो सकता है और उसका characteristic बताया गया है. The Shudra is a person who won't be able to get up in time, who won't be able to do this or that, and doesn't have the intellectual capacity to think higher thing. And the Kshatriya ka, he has a lot of strength and he has a mental capacity to do this and all. That's why जितने भी सैनिक वगैरह होते हैं उनमें क्षत्रिय क्वालिटीज होती है. अभी किसी शूद्र को बोलो कि नहीं सबको इक्वल बनाओ जी, शूद्र को भेज दो उधर, किसी बनिया को भेज दो वॉर में.
Do you think that's the whole thing? Why people are against caste system is because if you are born in suppose Baniya family, that doesn't mean that you have to be like a Baniya.
Who said that? That's what it's saying. Krishna Bhagwan never said it.
No, not Krishna Bhagwan, but I don't know how it evolved.
Exactly, it is our stupidity. That we say these and we make these rules and then we blame. Hindus are doing this. Hey, nowhere it said it. If Hindus themselves are confused, they need to go and study Bhagavad Gita first. Try to understand and first clear your mind, then go and teach other people.
So each one, or the profession, not the caste, is as important.
That's another point. अगर आप लोग
Well,
की-
I
हम-
remember Christian Amanpur went to south of India and she started this agitation of Shudra not to pick up, not to work there. And there are no toilets. So,
I know. Tomorrow, if tomorrow garbage man doesn't come to pick up our garbage, the whole city is going to stink. Their job is as important as, building some bridges and all that, because that's exactly right. So it is our own mind that creates this lower and higher, and somebody is nonsense. From the God's perspective, it's all the same. It's just like, the government. The government cannot discriminate between some, higher job or lower job. Every job is important. So it is our own mind that creates this division and all that, and that we have to fix it in our own mind. We are Shudras too many times, like you said. When we do bad things and we are thinking of, baser things and hurting somebody, that's like a Shudra mentality, you can call it. Or, talking about cleaning the toilets, all of us clean our own toilets in our house. We are Shudras too. What are we talking about other people?
Somebody asked a mother that, what's your caste? She says, I'm all for caste.
Exactly.
I have everything.
So at that level, that's 100% true. But if you want to go in a little more contemplative subject about this, then everybody has some predominant qualities.
I
And
agree with that,
it is possible to change that quality. It's not that easy. That's all it is. Yeah.
That's how the caste system came
Yes.
in my mind.
So because you came to the Geeta class late. We already finished that in chapter 4. Maybe you can go back to the old recording, or maybe you can hear some other Swamis. Chinmayananji gave a beautiful description of this, and you will have a better understanding what they're talking about.
Okay, I have his tapes. I
Yeah.
will listen.
You listen to a caste system by them, and then you will know what really it means. Yeah. It is a very touchy topic, and we can spend hours on it. And actually, I have a presentation that I had made one for that science group. I can send you that on caste system.
Oh, that'll be good.
Yeah,
That'll
I
be-
have it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I would like to. Joe, are you saying something because you had muted yourself? We can hear you.
somebody just sent a video last week on this, and they talked about Valmiki and all these people. They were Shudra, and then they changed and they wrote all the things.
Yeah,
we read.
it's possible. In one lifetime, you can do it. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so we can take it up. More questions at the end if there is. Let's move forward. If there is no other burning thing in Bhagavad Gita, I will stop it right now. And we can go to the Kathopanishad. That's okay? Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyah moksha ishyami ma shuchah. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.